I'm so excited to introduce our next guest, and that is Michael Higginbotham. Michael is a Lawrence M. Katz Professor of Law and former interim dean at the University of Baltimore School of Law. He is also the author of Race Law, published by Carolina Academic Press in 2001. Now in its 5th edition, the book is widely used in colleges and law schools throughout the United States. And I just want to say, Michael, when I heard that you were supportive of this project and you were behind it, I literally got out of my chair and jumped for joy. I'm so honored to meet you. Thank you. Please come up and say a few words.
First, let me say, Aloysius Leon Higginbotham Jr. And I know I see a lot of you smiling because I know a lot of you wanted to know what that A period stood for. So now you know. Leon spent his entire professional career, or at least most of it, right here in Philadelphia from the time he graduated in 1952 from Yale Law School until he retired in 1993, some 40-some years, right here in Philadelphia. This was his community. 6 in Market Street at the courthouse to 44 West Upsall Street, where he had a home, and everything in between was his stomping ground. And he spent a whole lot of time, of course, at the University of Pennsylvania, Mother Penn. He also had a home for a couple of years. There he lived with his wife, Evelyn, before they moved up to Harvard during the 1990s. And it was about 4 blocks down on 48th Street. So this was his stomping grounds. Quite frankly, the family has always been inspired by Leon's story. Members of the family were always moved and inspired. But this project is so important because now many more people will be inspired. We've been inspired from day one when a 16-year-old freshman who was an engineering student in 1944 at Purdue University, where he said to the college president, "Why do the 9 black students have to sleep in an unheated, cramped attic rather than in the dormitory, even in a segregated situation?" And the college president responded, "The law doesn't require me to house you on campus or to provide you with heat, Leon. So if you don't like it, you can go ahead and leave." Now, you want to talk about the most negative inspirational speech in the history of the world? That was it. Because, of course, the next day Leon left Purdue, went to a school that wouldn't segregate him, Antioch, and he changed his major from engineering to pre-law. And, of course, the rest is history. This project is so significant to the Higginbotham family because Leon's story can now provide inspiration for many, many others. I guess I can say this: Leon is the Rocky of the legal profession, the Rocky Balboa of the legal profession. I think some of you Philadelphians get that. The reason why, right? He started low. He overcame a whole lot of obstacles and he rose to the top, just like Rocky. But unlike the mythical, fictional character in the movies, Leon was the real life hero. He was the real deal. He kept it real. He kept it real in 1968, the day after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. He kept it real when he spoke truth to power to Lyndon Johnson in the Oval Office. He kept it real in 1982 when he went to South Africa and spoke about racial equality and got locked up by the apartheid government. And as you heard from Larry Platt, he kept it real in 1991 when he reminded in an open and public letter to a recently confirmed Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas about the tremendous input and changes that his predecessor, Thurgood Marshall, had made, the incredible aspects of improvement that Thurgood Marshall has made. So when you think about inspiration, Leon Higginbotham is one who can provide that. Second, let me say, I heard from, and you all heard from Jane Golden earlier. You heard from Larry Platt about what a brilliant attorney Leon was. You heard about what a great, dedicated public servant. And you also heard what a wise and fair jurist he has been. And he was all of those things, no question about that. But he was also something very special privately. And a lot of people don't understand that what made Leon so special, what separated him out from many of the smart lawyers out there, was his compassion. Leon cared deeply about the poor, about the dispossessed, about the voiceless, about the hopeless. I could tell you a whole lot of stories that demonstrate this unique character trait, but I'm going to just share one with you because it's hot out here, I know. So I'm going to share one with you. It occurred in 1986 about a couple of miles from this location. We were working late one night at 17th and Bainbridge. Leon had an apartment there. I was living next door to him in an apartment. We had bedrooms on the second floor and they faced the street, but they were next to each other, and it was a hot Philadelphia night. We had the windows open and you could hear sounds from each other's apartment. When the phone rang, I could hear it in Leon's apartment. And we were tired. We worked a little bit after midnight, and Leon said, "Hey, look, I'm real tired. Let's get to sleep. I got to do a speech to the next day." So we went to bed about 2 a.m. I could hear the phone in Leon's house ringing. And then I could hear the doorbell ringing, and it rang for about 2 minutes. And I heard Leon go to the window, and he said, "May I help you?" And the person, it was a woman's voice, she said, "I'm sorry to disturb you such a late hour. You don't know me. But I heard you were an important person. I just got a phone call from the hospital. My son is in the hospital. I need to know if he's okay. So I have to take a taxi over there. I have no money. Can you give me $25? And I heard Leon's response. He said, "I'll do better than that. I'm going to take you over to the hospital." I heard him coming down the steps, opened the door, got in his car. I heard the car drive away. The next day, we drove to the airport. He was going to make a speech out in California. He never mentioned the incident. And that showed me a couple of things. One, his humility. He was a man, he didn't need credit. He didn't need recognition. This was who he was deep inside, to help a stranger in need. But the second thing, and most important thing to me, as I thought about this incident, was the dignity that he gave to this stranger, of his time, of his patience, of his caring, to take her to the hospital and to stay with her while she dealt with a difficult family situation. So for me, this was the day in 1986 that I fully recognized just how special this person was, just why he deserves a mural up here on Chestnut Street. because of that passion. Those who knew Leon, those who loved Leon, those who respected Leon, they'll miss his baritone voice. He had one of the James, somebody mentioned James Earl Jones, didn't have anything on Leon. We'll miss that baritone voice that talked about so powerfully about racial equality in America. We're going to miss that boisterous laughter that dulled the pain of American racism. But most of all, we're going to miss that compassion that never, ever gave up on the dream to save it for all. So finally, let me say, these are difficult times that the nation is in. I think we all recognize that. And as you heard earlier, we desperately need leaders like Leon Higginbotham more than ever today. Leon was a part of this community. Leon was a part of West Philly, but more significantly, West Philly was a part of Leon. So it is, yes, absolutely. So here's what my hope is from this mural. It's my hope that this will enable a whole lot of people to learn about Leon Higginbotham's story, what he stood for, to know the obstacles he overcame, the character he displayed, and the values that he embraced. And that in so knowing, there are members in this community that will be able to be touched and will be able to think as Leon thought, will be able to speak as Leon did, will be able to embrace the values that Leon embraced, but most significantly, will be able to live the life that Leon lived. Thank you very much.